Hey guys, what's up? Antwon Lavey here. So today, happy Halloween to anyone. Hope you guys having fun out there scaring people and shit like that. I wish I scare people, but I'm stuck in the house. But so today's video, I got some scary stories to tell you guys. One of my old videos that I did in 2017, 2020. So hope you like it. And this is Antwon Lavey Spooky Marathon.
The
Enjoy.
big toe. A boy was digging the edge of the garden when he saw a big toe. He tried to pick it up, but it was stuck to something. So he gave it a hard jerk, and it came off in his hand. Then he heard something groaning and scampered away. The boy took the toe into the kitchen and showed it to his mother. "It looks nice and plump," she said. "I'll put it in soup and we'll have it for supper." That night, the father carved the toe into 3 pieces, and they each have a piece. Then they did the dishes, and when they got dark, they went to bed. The boy fell asleep almost at once, but then, middle of the night, a sound awakened him. It was something out in the streets. It was a voice, and it was calling to him. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. When the boy heard it, that he got very scared. But he thought, "It doesn't know where I am. It will never find me." Then he heard the voice once more, only now it was closer. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. The boy pulled the blankets over his head and closed his eyes. "I'll go to sleep," he thought. "And when I wake up, it will be gone." But soon he heard the back door open, and again he heard the voice. "Where is my toe?" The boy heard footsteps moving through the kitchen, into the dining room, into the living room, into the front hall. Then slowly they climbed the stairs. Closer and closer they came. Soon, in the upstairs hall, now it was outside his door. "Where is my toe?" the voice groaned. His door opened. Shaken with fear, he listened, and the footsteps slowly moved through the dark toward his bed. Then he stopped. "Where is my toe?" the voice groaned. "You got it!" The babysitter. It was 9 o'clock in the evening. Everybody was sitting on the couch in front of the TV. There were Richard, Brian, Jenny, and Doreen, the babysitter. The telephone rang. "Maybe it's your mother," said Doreen. She picked it up. Before she could say a word, a man laughed hysterically and hung up. "Who was it?" asked Richard. "Some nut," said Doreen. "What did I miss?" At 9:30 the telephone rang again. Doreen answered it. It was the man who called before. "I'll be there soon," he said, and he laughed and hung up. "Who was it?" the children asked. "Some crazy person," she said. About 10 o'clock, the telephone rang again. Jenny got to it first. "Hello?" she said. It was the same man. "One more hour," he said, and he laughed and hung up. He said 1 more hour. What did he mean? Asked Jenny. "Don't worry," said Doreen. "It's someone fooling around." "I'm scared," said Jenny. About 10:30, the telephone rang once more. When Doreen picked it up, the man said, "Pretty soon now," he laughed. "Why are you doing this?" Doreen screamed and hung up. "Was it that guy again?" asked Brian. "Yes," said Doreen. "I'm going to call the operator and complain." The operator told her to call if the operator told her to call back if it happens again, and she will try to trace the call. At 11 o'clock, the telephone rang. Again, Doreen answered it. "Very soon now," the man said, and he laughed and hung up. Doreen called the operator. Almost at once, she called back. "That person is calling from the telephone upstairs," she said. "You better leave. I'll get the police." Just then, the door upstairs opened. A man they have never seen before started down the stairs toward them. As they ran from the house, he was smiling in a very strange way. A few minutes later, the police found him there and arrested him. The man who lived in Leeds. Some say that this rhyme doesn't mean anything, but others are not sure. There was a man who lived in Leeds. He filled his garden filled with seeds, and when the seeds began to grow, it was like a garden filled with snow. And when the snow began to melt, it was like a ship without a belt. And when the ship began to sail, it was like a bird without a tail. And when the bird began to fly, it was like an eagle in the sky. And when the sky began to roar, it was like a lion at my door. But when the door began to crack, it was like a penknife in my back. And when my back began to bleed, I was dead, dead indeed. Ha! Mitai Doti Walker. There was a haunted house where every night a bloody head fell down the chimney. At least that's what people said, so nobody would stay there overnight. Then a rich man offered $200 whoever would do it. And this boy said that he will try if he has his dog with him. So it was settled. The very next night, the boy went into the house with his dog. To make it more cheerful, he started the fire in the fireplace. Then he sat down in the front of the fire and waited. And his dog waited with him. For a while, nothing happened. But a little after midnight, he heard someone singing softly and sadly off into the woods. The singing sounded something like this. Mitai Doti Walker. It's just somebody singing, the boy told himself, but he was frightened. Then his dog answered the song. Softly and sadly it sang. Linchy, Kinchy, Kalimali, Dingo, Dingo. The boy could not believe his ears. His dog had never uttered a word before. Then, a few minutes later, he heard the singing again. Now it was getting closer and louder, but the words were the same. Mitai Doti Walker. This time the boy tried to stop his dog from answering. He was afraid that whoever was singing will hear it and come after them. But the dog paid no attention and again it sang. Lynchy, Kinchy, Kali Mali, Dingo, Dingo. A half hour later, the boy heard the singing again. Now it was in the backyard, and the songs were the same. Me Tai Doty Walker. Again, the boy tried to keep his dog quiet, but the dog sang out louder than ever. Lynchy, Kinchy, Kali Molly, Dingo, Dingo. Soon the boy heard singing again. Now it was coming down the chimney. Me Tai Doty Walker. The dog sang right back. Lynchy, Kinchy, Kali Molly Wally, Dingo, Dingo. Suddenly, a bloody head fell out of the chimney. It missed the fire and landed right next to the dog. The dog took one look and fell over dead from fright. The head turned over and stared at the boy. Slowly it opened its mouth and... Ah!
The White Wolf. The timber wolves around French Creek had gotten out of hands. There were so many wolves, the farmer could not stop them from killing their sheep and cattle. So the state put a bounty on them. It will pay a hunter $10 for every wolf pelt he turned in. A butcher in town named Bill Williams thought that was pretty good money. He stopped working as a butcher and started killing wolves. He was good at it. Every year, he killed over 500 of them. That came to more than $5,000. It was quite a bit of money in those days. After 5 or 4 years, Bill had killed so many wolves there were hardly any left in the area. So he retired and vowed to never harm another wolf because wolves had made him rich. One day, a white wolf has been reported had killed 2 of his sheep. He shot at it, but the bullets had no effects. Soon that wolf was seen all over the countryside, killing and running, but no one could stop it. One night, it came to Bill's yard and killed his pet cow. Bill forgot it about his decision to never harm another wolf. He went into the town the next morning and bought a young lamb for bait. He took it out into the tree in the hills and tied it around to a tree. Then he backed off about 50 yards and sat down under another tree. With his gun in his lap, he waited. When Bill then came back, his friends started looking for him. Finally, they found the lamb. It was still tied to a tree. It was hungry, but it was still alive. Then they found Bill. He was sitting against the other tree, but he was dead. His throat had been torn out. But there was no sign of a struggle. His gun had been fired. And there was no tracks in the soil around him. As for the white wolf, it was never seen again.
The Viper. A widow lived alone on the top floor of the apartment house. One morning, her telephone rang. "Hello," she said. "This is the Viper," a man said. "I'm coming up." Somebody's fooling around, she thought, and hung up. A half hour later, her telephone rang again. It was the same man. "It's the Viper," he said. "I'll be up soon." The widow didn't know what to think, but she was getting frightened. Once more the telephone rang again. It was the Viper. "I'm coming up now," he said. She quickly called the police. They said they will be right over. When the doorbell rang, she sighed with relief. "They're here," she thought. But when she opened the door, There stood a little old man with a bucket and a cloth. "I am the viper," he said. "I wish to wash and wipe the windows."
The Hook. Donald and Sarah went to the movies. Then they went on a joyride in Donald's car. They parked up the hill of the edge of the town. From there, they could see the lights up and down the valley. Donald turned on the radio and found some music. But an announcer broke in with some news. A murderer has escaped from the state prison. He was armed with a knife and headed on south on foot. His left hand is missing. In its place, he wears a hook. "Let's roll up the windows and lock the doors," said Sarah. "That's a good idea," said Donald. "That prison isn't too far away," said Sarah. "Maybe we really should go home." "But it's only 10 o'clock, said Donald. "I don't care what time it is," she said. "I want to go home." "Look, Sarah," said Donald. "He's not going to climb up here. Why would he do that? Even though the windows and the doors are locked, how do you get in?" "Donald, he can take that hook and break through the window and open the door," she said. "I'm scared, and I want to go home." Donald was annoyed. Girls are always afraid of something. As they started the car, Sarah thought she heard someone or something scratching at her door. "Did you hear that?" she asked as they rolled away. "Sounds like someone's trying to get in." "Oh, sure," said Donald. Soon they're at her house. "Would you like to come in and have some cocoa?" she asked. "No," he said. "I gotta go home." He went around the other side to let her out of the car. Hanging on the door handle was a hook.
The Hearse Song. Don't you ever laugh as a hearse goes by, for maybe you be the next to die. They wrap you up in a big white sheet from down to your head and down in the feet. They put you in a big black box and cover you up with dirt and rocks. All goes well for about a week, and then your coffin begins to leak. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. The worms play pinocchles on your snout. They eat your eyes, they eat your nose, they eat the jelly between your toes. A big green worm with rolling eyes crawls out your stomach and out your eyes. Your stomach turns a slimy green, and pus pours out like whipping cream. You spread it on a slice of bread, and that's what you eat when you are dead. Girl on Fire is a true ghost story about a young girl named Connie Cunningham who was burned alive at University of Montevallo in Alabama. Back in 1908, it was called Alabama's Girls Industrial School, and Connie Cunningham was one of the students who lived on the fourth floor of the main resident hall. Late one night, Connie and her friends were using a burner to make hot chocolate in their room. This was against the rules, but Connie and her friends were doing it anyway. They were all sitting in Connie's bed in their nightgowns. When someone actually knocked the burner, the bed caught on fire, so did Connie Cunningham's nightgown. She began to panic and ran down the hallway screaming for help. Now, most people know, running is the worst thing you can do when you're on fire. You're supposed to drop on the ground and roll around. But unfortunately, Connie didn't know that. She ran up and down the hallway screaming for help. This only fanning the flames. The flames grew larger and larger, consuming her body. Her friends could only watch in horror as Connie finally collapsed and died. Her body was burnt to crisp. Ever since her death, Connie Cunningham's ghost had haunted the fourth floor of the old Mansard Hall. Students living on the fourth floor had reported hearing horrifying screams of a girl echoing through the hallways. Others had heard footsteps run up and down the hall when no one was there. Some even heard a girl's voice crying, "Help me! Help me! Help me!" Late one night, a girl who was staying in Connie's little room heard noises outside her door. When she opened the door, she was shocked to see a fiery apparition running down the hallway. Its body burns black and flames blazing around it like a human torch. When the girl went back to her room, she saw that her bed was on fire. The next morning, she left the university and never returned. Of all the paranormal events that surrounded the girl on fire, strangest is what happened is the wooden door of old Connie's room. Right after Connie's death, her friends said that they saw an image of Connie's burned face appear in the wood. The school administrator had the door replaced, but Connie's face began appearing in the new door. They replaced the door numerous times, but every time the image of the face came back in the wood. The girls were so freaked out that eventually they just removed the door and put it in the storage room. Even today, Connie's room has no door. None of the girls in Mountain Valley will stay that room overnight. It's remained vacant. The students who live there today still swear that they heard doors opening and close of their own accord. Of some have people since the presence of Connie ghost come into the room. Her ghost has even been known into the showers areas and screamed her head off. The girls say that when they room the hall, she doesn't do it quietly. She runs and screams through the hall. Yes, if she was still on fire.
Silent Hill is a horror video game that everyone loves. Even had its own movie. But don't you realize that this movie and the game is based on a true town? Here are the story of the real town of Silent Hill.
Silent Hill Town, based on the real-life story of Centralia, PA. Underneath the streets, a massive fire burns. Ash and smoke erupt from the earth. People flee their homes, and a once vibrant township is now a ghost town. It sounds like the opening of the popular Konami video game series Silent Hill, which was inspired by the town, but for the people of Centralia, Pennsylvania, this is a reality. The first coal mining operation began in 1856. By the 1950s, close to 2,000 people called Centralia home. Then in May 1962, the mine beneath the town caught fire. The fire was believed to have started when the town decided to burn the trash at the landfill. The trash fire traveled through an opening in the mine where it ignited the large coal deposits below. Feeding off the coal and the oxygen traveling through the mine shaft openings on the surface, the fire raged out of control. For the next 16 years, the town attempted to extinguish a fire just below their feet. But no matter how hard they tried, another plume of smoke and fire would spring out of the ground in some other part of town. Many of the residents started experiencing blackouts as carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and methane began to leak out of cracks in the ground. One by one, the townsfolk saw no other alternative but to leave their homes forever. The true magnitude of the situation wouldn't come to the surface until 1979, when locals began recording temperatures of 180 degrees Fahrenheit on the ground surface. Then on Valentine's Day, 1981, a 12-year-old boy was nearly killed when he fell into a steaming sinkhole created by the mine fire. The fire is still burning today. Looking at the town from above, on Google Earth, you still see the streets laid in a perfect grid. However, only a handful of homes, yes, some people still live there, and an old church from 1911 remains standing. Graffiti covers an old, decimated section of Route 61 that used to pass through town, and steam still pours out of the cracks in the asphalt. By 2010, the population of Centralia dwindled down to just 10 people, with the occasional plumes of steam and poison gas spilling out of the ground. Centralia may remain a burning ghost town forever.
That's it for now, guys. I'm sorry I didn't read the whole thing of it. I'm having trouble stuttering a lot. But thank God my sister's there to support me and all that stuff to read it for me. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll read more stories for you in the next video.
Go.
I could feel the warmth of spring as the snow had just melted. The fresh smell of the forest in my backyard was welcoming. My daughter came in one day and wanted to show me something. She was so curious of what she had found. She handed me a deep gray-colored shaped egg. I was a little taken back by this. I told her it must be a bird's egg. I could see she was worried that she had taken the egg away from its bird mother and wanted to take it back. I gave her back the egg and told her to be sure to take it back where you found it. She hurried as fast as she could bring it back. I was also curious myself of what type of bird would lay an egg like that. She comes back moments later and said the egg was right back where it belongs. I gave her to notion that I was proud of her, but followed by asking her where she found it. She replied she found it under a birch tree. So my thought went to, it must have fallen out from the nest. I told her good job and she went off to play. I went to the birch tree out of my own sympathy. I had thought I could at least try to find the nest and put it back. The nights are still cold and the egg won't survive the night. I took the egg, holding it both in my hands to keep it warm, and took it back to the house. I bundled it up in a towel and had it near the bed. I couldn't sleep that night, and all I heard was, "Lost! Lost! Lost!" I woke up and I could still hear the voice. It was coming from the backyard. I went outside through the back and turned on the porch light. Lost!
In the early 2000s, I was only a young kid. I always loved sitting in my bed, staring at my window. It was broken, built up with woods and nails. So basically, I lived in an old house. I always loved sitting in my bed, looking out the window at night, about to fall asleep every time. Keep in mind, I'm a morning person and a night person, so I get used to every day. That soon changed when I hit the age of 21 years old. I looked at my window again, ready to fall asleep, when I saw a man staring at my window, staring at me. I looked out the window and no one was there, but I saw footprints in the snow. Now I'm a 25-year-old, and I moved into a new neighborhood. And keep in mind, even though I always loved sleeping at night, even though I'm too scared to go to sleep, I was always scared what was going to watch me at night.
After the story my brother told a little while ago, a strange encounter he had with a pink bunny, I will admit I was put off by it, but then I became a growing concern. I invited him and his family to stay with me for a while, just to relax. With family, wasn't relaxing, when I started to hear, "Have you seen my brother?" "Dad, I saw a man in the window. Do you see him?" "Honey, there's no man in the window." I went to my old town, Amber Falls, in the country, to meet up with my old friends. They said that they needed to escape, but they needed my help. I gladly agreed. However, upon arriving, it was a ghost town, inspired by Silent Hill. Feel free to be scared in the dark.
That's it for today, guys, but if you've been on here a long time, good job. But happy Halloween, and yeah, like, comment, subscribe to you, and see you guys later. And that's it, guys. That was 2017 to 2020, and bye.